Hey guys, I'm SDN Wolf and welcome back to the channel. And if you're new, welcome. You are in for some weirdness, for some Pine Creek action. And you guys might have noticed on the little snow video that I just put out, I've got to work out some access issues as far as letting guests in. Because they pretty much made a beeline and broke through security, and they were like all back into some backstage areas. They were running over here to get around here to the African area, and so yeah, I will have to kind of alter some of those plans as far as letting guests in go. Maybe in the next episode we'll go ahead and just go ahead and let them in, or maybe limit it to maybe 400 or 500 guests. But that was pretty interesting, seeing them come into the snow and just seeing where they went and what they did. Jenna and Maggie were a big hit. A lot of the guests, they were loving, like, it seemed like the most popular area was this strip right here. So they were on either side, really taking in the Timberwolves, the wolf pack over here, and taking in the sister grizzly bears. But that is not why we are here today. We are here to show you. Look at the little East Asian area, how awesome it's coming along. I've got this little food court idea. Coaster designers said, man, you really need, like, the East Asian area needs like a little food court. And I was coming up with some like little pagoda ideas and stuff. They totally looked like crap. But then I was kind of trolling around on the workshop, and I found, let me make sure I give a proper shout out here. I found this little food court by Dracena's. Yes, so this is Dracena's food court, and the only thing I did was I added a few little signs, like a little panda sign and like that up there on the side of the building. And I just think that, just like, even when you're looking back here, like when you're coming up, like, see how you can see that tower kind of back there, and you make your way under the archway here. And then right here, directly off to your right, is what most people would be looking for, probably when they get to this section of the park or get in this part of the land. We've got bathrooms, and then, of course, we've got the different eateries over here so people can grab a bite. And I finally found a good spot for, I'm terrible with names. It starts with an M. Madame Muse's. Yeah, Madame Muse's Panda Mosaic. So I wanted to use that for a while, but I knew it would have to wait until the East Asian area, and I just think that came out absolutely killer right there. So big shout out to those two awesome creators for throwing that on the workshop, and yeah, letting us use it in our parks. And then kind of once you move your way a little farther down, remember we've got the Komodo dragons over here off to the left, and you can get a pretty good shot of them down in here. So we've got our male and female. But one of the stars of the land, actually, once you make your way a little bit further, over here off to the right, we have our giant Panda Island out here. And I had actually, this is kind of like a varied version of a Panda Island that I did way back a couple months ago when I was kind of like burnt out with the experiment zoo that I was doing. And so what I did was I forgot I had saved that as a blueprint way back when, and I had brought it in to Pine Creek and did a little bit of shifting, made like an actual island out of it. I went back and forth about, do we do glass and let you get right up to the pandas, or do we kind of bring you off of the show a little bit and kind of put you behind this barrier, and you can kind of observe them from afar, like from on the other side of the little moat here. And I think that worked out a lot better like this. So we're not right on top of them. We don't have an indoor area necessarily that you can look at them on, but they are nonetheless safe back here behind the moat and behind the rocks. So I don't have any escape points. They can traverse up onto their little mountain there, and even get out here in the water if they choose. But we do not have to worry about them kind of making their way out to the pathway. And then I've got the little mom panda and the little baby here, as I thought would be like a cool little photo op spot, or the kids could climb up on this rock right here and the parents could get a good picture sitting there with the pandas. And I think the whole area, like if you back out here, doesn't like that just whole little bend kind of in the main path just encompasses that little area. It works out perfect as far as that bend goes and the sight lines. And, you know, when you're actually kind of making your way up through here, you've got this massive tree that kind of towers over everything. But as far as Carlos G's kind of like bonsai trees, they mask enough of it just to keep it just mysterious enough to where you really have to, it pulls you over here, like up to the edge to kind of, you know, discover what's going on over here. And then of course you discover Panda Island. So still got to get the backstage area worked out. I did leave this open. It will probably have to curve off from this access road, and it'll make its way over that way, because also we got to be thinking about tiger transport. You know, we'll be essentially we'll be doing that, you know, coming up pretty soon, like the tiger temple area. But we definitely need a place to drop off supplies for the food court and all of that. So all of that back there will actually encompass the backstage operation area. And then of course over here too, I still need to start work on the museum, kind of like the makeshift school of paleontology type deal right here, that will sit adjacent to the Beyond Drew School of Environmental Science. But yeah, you know, this is kind of like we're still plugging away. I didn't get as much work done necessarily as I wanted to this weekend. But nonetheless, even with bringing in these blueprints, that really helped kind of like chomp away a little bit at the East Asian area. And yeah, we've got with the panda bears, the giant panda bears, have officially moved in. And this guy loves hanging out down here by the water and taking his naps. And, you know, it's shallow enough to where they can get out there and splash around in it. Taking a nap out here by the pond. Got a male and a few females. The end game says they can live into groups of up to 10, I believe, is acceptable. So, you know, I've got a few of them over here kind of playing around, scratching around, exploring. We've got a bunch of different little caves for them. See, these two are back here, and they're like kind of like their little off-show cave. But yeah, so that is what I've been messing with this weekend. And remember too, the latest expansion other than that is our Pacific Northwest kind of sea lion cove over here. And so yep, I think that just transitioned pretty well over into East Asia. And then, of course, like we said, that whole area will encompass the other side of the lake over here. You guys have ended up loving this lake, and I think it just complemented the whole park really, really well. And then, of course, we've got our parking out here. One of my buddies on YouTube was saying, too, if we ever wanted to expand the parking, you could kind of maybe even consider that it was implied, and the trams brought people over actually to the park. So, yeah, you know, we will just keep rolling on with Pine Creek. We've still got a pretty good bit of ideas left. There's just a lot, kind of like a lot to finish up. Especially like we said, if we're wanting to finish up that East Asian area and do a good job over there. I think we've got the African area wrapped up pretty well. There's our big boy right there. His genetics are let's see, 91% size. So yeah, he is a pretty big fella. The only thing that I know a lot of you guys are going to say, though, is remember at the beginning, I didn't necessarily know I was going to have an Asian area. And, you know, I can't move the Boyd family Red Panda Village now. It just fits so good right here. I know a lot of us are probably thinking, like, why didn't you have that why didn't you have them over in the East Asian area? Particularly probably if you're new to the series, but these were like one of the first exhibits, other than the implied American beaver exhibit. So, like I said, back at the beginning of January, kind of like the middle of January, we didn't necessarily know that it was going to be this large, or if we would have an East Asian area. So that is one of those things that kind of just evolved, and the Red Panda Village, it's over here now, so that's kind of just where it'll stick. And if you're also new, this you might have seen it in the snow video, and you're like, what are these fences and stuff doing up right here. This is kind of like a creek kind of enrichment area, learning area. So the people, you would sign up for this little class and they open these gates and you get to come down in here and actually swim around and splash around in actual Pine Creek. And the little instructors and stuff, they get down in here and they talk about the health of the creek, what lives in the creek, little crawfish, smallmouth bass, stuff like that, all the little things that call the creek home. And they get the little kids down in there and they let them splash around, like I said, and show them what all encompasses with the creek. And the creek makes its way back down through here, and you've got the Fender's farm over here off to your right. That's like our little farm area with the sheep and the hogs. And then, the creek kind of bends its way, kind of follows the path, and then you eventually come up here to one of the largest waterfalls on the creek with the zipline tower kind of towering over this section. And it kind of winds its way through here over to the backside of the zipline shed. Then it gets really, really calm kind of over here at the bison area. This is kind of like the bison plains over here. They're always over here trotting around, having a good time. And then it eventually makes its way into the Cherokee campground, where it gets split by this last little island. And then we've got the canoes and stuff. And eventually it feeds, if you make this last little bend over here off to the left, it feeds into Pine Creek Lake. So that is the end of the creek. A lot of people were saying, man, you should kind of bend off and maybe let the creek finish its way out into the East Asian area. But I don't know. I think as far as the creek goes on our property, we got we got a lot of good life out of it. A lot of good storytelling. This is kind of like the first little main, like the little waterfall, kind of like when you're making your way into the first little ticket area. So I thought that would be pretty cool. It's kind of got, it kind of rushes through here right when people are first making their way into the zoo and kind of making their decision on where they want to go. And the bridge kind of breaks off over here and it takes you over into the North American area. Or you can peel off to the left and we've got like my little makeshift aviary over here. Aviary, and they do little shows up here, every few hours. Or you can kind of make your way over here to the Turtle Pond in the Ricey Cove Reptile Center. So once you make your way into the Reptile Center, we've got all kinds of little critters over here, and just a lot of neat stuff going on. Like I would think, like research and breeding programs. We've got our giant tortoises over here, and they've got their little pond. I was reading a thing, it might have been something on BBC, but it was talking about some of the Galapagos tortoises. Actually, they think how they might have populated some of the islands down there in the Galapagos, like, when people would wonder how they got to how did they get to the different islands? Well, apparently some of their shells, they believe they're actually pretty buoyant. So they think, and as far as their long necks go, they think that they could hold their heads up and their shells floated, and they actually floated to the different islands. And like I said, their heads were able to hold high enough up to actually breathe as they were floating to the different islands. So they think that's how some of those, how they were able to populate, random non-connected little islands out there. So I thought that was pretty neat. I find myself watching more of those shows nowadays since Planet Zoos came out. But anyways, yeah, like I said, we will keep chugging along at Pine Creek here, and then of course too we've got some kind of warming up with some ideas. I haven't started building anything on the on the new zoo. I don't even know what I'm going to call it, but I've definitely been looking up some concept art because there'll probably be a little bit of a break period to kind of get the entrance area going once Pine Creek is done. But definitely want to get Pine Creek done before I lay the first brick in the new zoo, because I know me. You guys might not know me if you've not been around for a while, but if I start working on a new entrance in a new zoo, I just have a bad feeling that Pine Creek would get pushed to the back burners, and definitely don't want to do that. So I am absolutely going to finish up Pine Creek Zoo before the first absolute piece is laid on the new zoo. And plus, like I said, I kind of wanted to wait and see kind of how the DLC situation is going to, kind of flip out. I did a DLC speculation video if you haven't caught that yet, so let me know what you think about that, and let me know what and when you think is coming, what is coming up next. And yeah, guys, as always, thank you for stopping by and hanging out with me. I'm S.Dan Wolf. Don't forget to smash that like button if you end up enjoying this video. And yeah, I will catch you guys in the next one. Thank you. See ya.